Alrighty chaps, welcome back to another Graham's Restorations, where we are tackling a much needed parcel shelf for this Falcon coupe. Now this video series, this might be a little series because I'm not convinced I can get all of this work done in one day. So this particular repair might be spread over a couple of videos, but I'm gonna keep them coming daily if that's the case. So I'm going to actually run you through this as almost a how-to, just like I did the gutter trim for the XY and the roof corner. I'm going to do that again. I'll show you the parts we have and show you exactly where to remove all the welds, and probably what I'd like to think is the best way to actually change it out. And I want to keep that top panel, so I'll run you through that in a second. Also, if you watched yesterday's video of trying to get that XA ute going, unfortunately that was a spectacular fail, and I very nearly binned the entire day's worth of footage, but I thought, might be fun. I don't know what the issue with that car is. We needed a bit more time. We were very limited. We only had about 3 hours to play with it, so unfortunately we couldn't really delve into it. What we needed to do then was take the rock cover off and see what the valves were doing. We suspected it had a couple of stuck valves because they've been sitting for a really long time. I reckon it was cranking over just fine, and then one of them got stuck down, or maybe even a couple, because it was popping out the back and popping out the carby, which sort of tells me that might have been the case. But ultimately, nobody parks a car if it's any good. Hence why my XB is parked up at the moment, because the trans is stuffed. So, oh well, lesson learned. I think Stewie might play with that ute a bit more. If it does work, it will be fantastic. The ultimate goal yesterday was to actually have that running and then drive it into the very front of that truck just lightly and fry a set of tyres on the back of it. I reckon that would have been a much more entertaining video, but apparently Murphy's Law was like, no, you're not going to do that because you're filming. Anyway, enough chat, I'll get stuck into this right now. Right, now let's look at the job at hand. Throw that in there. We have one of the upper panels. Unfortunately, these are the only ones you buy. If you go and get it through Howard Astle, you can buy this panel reworked for a little bit more money to look like the original. See how these edges are really crisp and sharp, and these ones are really soft? He will rework these panels. I don't know if he does or he sends them out to be done, but somebody that you get them from through him reworks them so they're closer to the original. And I would actually recommend that you pay the little bit extra and buy the one that's right. This particular car is quite rusty in the parcel shelf, but I've seen and fixed far worse than this. So this is, I mean, that side's pretty well good. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to put the whole panel in, I don't need to, and I don't want to lose this crisp shape on the edge of the boot lid, I'm actually going to put very little of this panel in. I'm just going to put it to about just here in. I'm just going to put that lip in. So I'm not going to put the whole thing. I just don't think it's necessary, and I don't want to lose the original boot area, because I reckon I can slip this panel in with that still in. So step 1, pay someone else to do it. Step 2, drink a beer. That's pretty much the gist of it. No, unless you've got millions of dollars, you're going to have to do it yourself. So first off, you want to get one of these, but like I just said, you probably want to get the reworked one that Howard Astle can get you. These can all be got through Howard Astle, but they're actually made by, I believe a chap's name is Jamie at Custom Garage, so you can get them direct from him too. But we just get them through Howard Astle because he's just the most convenient way to get them, because you can just go, I want this, this and this, and he goes, yep, no worries, and a couple of weeks later you have what it is, as long as you paid him a ton of money. So we have the lower, which on a Falcon coupe, these are nearly always rusted out, like always. Even 10 years ago they were always the worst panels. And that's the upright, and 10 years ago these were not available, so you had to make do with whatever you could whittle up. But these are incredibly good, they fit perfectly. They might seem a bit pricey, but trust me on this, they're worth every cent you're going to pay for them, because they go straight in with no issues. And when it comes to rust repair panels, I think that's a big thing. So, step 1, part 3. You're going to want to find where your panels all join in. Now that upright joins in right here, the factory blob a couple of welds here, and it's spot welded along here. And once upon a time, when there was a window lip, it was spot welded there. Actually, the best bit will show on the other side where it actually is still there. Might be a bit nasally today, it's because the weather is crap. So here we go, here's one that's still there. So that's this panel, just here. It sits under the parcel shelf. Now if your parcel shelf is stuffed here, you can cut these from a sedan, because this panel is the same. You just have to cut the sedan ones down to about here, because that's basically all the coupe ones are. It's just a sedan one trimmed right down. So if you need to replace this panel, which is quite easy, you just get that from a sedan, if you can find one to chop up. That isn't that bad. And so this panel joins in here and here, fairly straightforward. This one slips under this lip here, under here, and just it's like on a foot that tucks under and goes all the way along that lip. And inside the boot, this panel joins the boot channel on the underside of that. So it's fairly straightforward, and these actually have a join right in there, which is actually really difficult to do, which require a little bit of climbing in and out, but not the end of the world. So basically you want to drill out all those and just remove the stuff. But we're going to be have to do this in a bit of an interesting way, because some of it is completely rusted away. So I'll catch up when I've blown my nose and gotten it a bit better. Right chaps, we have removed the boot lid. I was just having a bit of a Captain Cook, a damn good look at the boot channels. They're not terrible by any means. I'm going to have to do some cleaning. I reckon I'm going to have to replace this section here, but I was just looking along here and I go, is that a band-aid? Gee, I've been doing rust repairs wrong for years. If it was just that simple, I could have just got a packet of band-aids and be done with it. But I mean, the other side being is, how long has it been since somebody's seen a Falcon coupe that's been unrestored, that has a boot floor, has all its back, one boot corner isn't even remotely rusty? You know, it's very rare to see this. Although the stupid thing is, this is what coupes were like 10 to 15 years ago when you were restoring them. Now the ones you're fixing are just absolute disasters. The cars people fix now are the cars that people used to scrap 10 years ago. So yeah, so this one, it hasn't even rusted out the back panel. It is all there, all the way along, not a drop of rust in the back panel. To those who think they didn't exist, there's one. Completely unrestored and unrusty, if that's even a word. So yeah, so we're getting into it. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get my scriber, my little vernier calipers. I'm just going to scribe about an inch all the way along there, and I'm going to gingerly cut the leading edge off of this, which shouldn't change it too much, because I mean nothing's holding it there anyway. And I'll trim that, and then I'll cut this crap out because there's nothing left of that, and I'll get down to that bit, and I'm just going to drill out, I believe it's 2 welds here, all of the spot welds along the lip, and then I'm just going to cut, just for quick sake, I'll just cut this bottom panel out and do that in a second. Alrighty, as you might have seen in that time lapse, we are making progress. Good progress. So it doesn't really matter how you take this stuff off, but you got to make sure that you don't destroy it in the process, because sometimes you might need bits and pieces. So I actually worked out while I was up there, I was like, ooh, this end piece here is a bit cacti or cactus, so I might be rebuilding in here a little bit more prior to these new parts going in. But what I've done now is I've got a small drill bit, and I've just gone around, because unfortunately all of my spot weld drill bits are absolutely blunt. So that's a bummer, but I assume that anybody doing this at home who are my main viewers probably don't have them either. So I've got myself a drill bit set here, and I'm going to pre-drill just to help locate all the spot welds. Pre-drill them out with a small drill bit, then I'll come back with a 8mm drill bit and just drill through them. It doesn't really matter because we need to ultimately have holes in this panel for this one to slip under and plug weld onto, so it doesn't matter if you drill all the way through. There's nothing to drill out through here because it's all gone, and it doesn't really, so the taking it out doesn't really matter too much. Ideally you just try and keep it in one piece without destroying it. And as I suspected, this didn't really, that stayed fairly rigid because it's actually quite firmly attached, and there's enough creases and folds in that it's not really going to change its shape too much. It might warp a little when you weld it, but it'll still keep relatively close. So that's where I've been up to. I'm now going to drill out all these plug welds, try and separate it a little bit. I'm umming and ahhing about not wasting time taking this out because I just don't think it's necessary. I reckon if I can split it along there and separate it under that lip there, I reckon I can just snip it in half and slip both sides out and it'll be done. And then we'll have huge access to this thing. So that's where we're at. We're going to keep on keeping on. Alrighty chaps, we have made some progress. So far, as a bit of a recap, we've trimmed off this lip, thrown it out, well, over there. I've then whittled off the remnants of the upright, which wasn't much left of it. I've just done a little drill on all the spot weld holes that I could see. Then I've come back with 8mm and drilled them out. Some of them are separated, some of them haven't. When you know they're separated, they'll literally fall apart. I mean, a bit of a light chisel and they'll come apart. We've also got half of it out. So what I do, because I'm going to chisel along here to get all these spot welds out and then sand down the side, because that's going to be the quickest way to do it, I reckon. And I just loosely trimmed this piece out. Quite amazing how nice that was on the bottom, but totally rusted out on the top. So I was like, I forgot there were some welds that I didn't see. And sometimes you can't see them. That's why I recommend you have a belt sander as well. Because usually if you think you've got them, you're like, oh yeah, you start chiseling and you come across a couple, you're like, ah, bugger. And then you can just use the belt sander to sand the top off them, and then they just pop off. So this is a little bit of the section that was there, so I've got to trim that off. And it is actually welded to the top of the boot hinges, and if you'd notice carefully, the boot hinges are fairly flimsy without that panel attached. So I'd recommend you take out the boot springs like I've done and anything attached. They won't move because they're actually quite well attached down the bottom to the inside tub, so I wouldn't worry too much. This is one of those few repairs where you don't really have to brace too much, because the way the car is built, it's holding itself incredibly firmly anyway. I mean, if you took out the whole panel and all of this parcel shelf, I'd recommend you know, maybe just a little brace between the window channel in case it does just, it all depends on how rusty your car is. If your car is an absolute pile of rust in close formation, I'd recommend bracing it, but this car is stupidly solid for a Falcon coupe, so I'm not actually that worried, and I'm not taking out this top section, so I'm not taking out this, so we've got several sections that are holding it width wise, so I'm not worried at all. And when I mean, that doesn't have anything on the bottom, and that is still quite firm, so I'm very happy that it's still the shape it's supposed to be. So ultimately we want to have it like this. I mean, that's pretty weak once that panel comes out. It's the joys of a unibody. So once I get that out, I can clean up all the edges and trim under here and get the rest of that off, and then this new top panel, once I prep it, this guy should just slip straight in underneath there. Probably a little bit of tweaking will be involved, but it probably will go in fairly well. I'm going to sand the tops of these and then copper spray them, sand the underside of that, and copper spray them, and obviously we're going to plug weld up all these holes. And this side's okay, but on the other side I'll have to do some rust repair to the corner, which is a bit of a shame, but no, not really that hard to deal with. So that's where we're up to. I'm going to keep trimming out what's left of that side. It seems that that side was worse than this side. Try and find some steel, but get that piece out and then keep you informed. Well, that's holier than the Pope. The other issue now is trying to chisel off the rest of this. I have a suspicion at the top of that boot hinge might be rusted through. I might have to get that off and then sandblast that plate. It's going to be really the only way to make sure there's no rust on it when the next piece goes in. And then of course get the rest of this junk out. There's going to be a fair bit of fiddling. I don't know if I'll show everything, but I definitely want to show as much as I can, because that side doesn't need hardly anything. That side's pretty well good to go, but this side's gonna get interesting. I'm gonna have to make that, and I reckon I'm gonna have to actually trim out a little bit more in here so I can get access to the panel below it, which has got a hole in it. So at the moment I'm just gonna do jump bits and pieces between things, because this is incredibly time consuming, fiddly, and not super exciting for camera, but I'll definitely catch up in between bits. Alrighty chaps, made some progress since you've been off screen. I had to keep cutting. So you might notice there's a hole there. So I've had to get this out because this is the corner and we can't leave rust in there. So this is effectively, the parcel shelf is made up of several pieces all glued together, well welded anyway. So you got that piece, the bottom bit, the hinges, the upright, the top, and you've actually got these two corners in here as well. And this is actually each corner. It's interesting to note they've designed it with a little channel to catch water, but I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think that worked. So I had to get it out because we can't leave that in there because that's just wrong. And the new section that goes in there actually is that piece there, so it actually sits on the lip. So I took it out. I'm going to put it back in, but we need to sandblast this and work out. We need to actually rebuild this on a bench, I'm guessing, because I'm going to re-weld it back. See, it wasn't welded through here or around there, and it was tucked into a bit of a hole, and then it was continued off in a that way direction. So when I weld it back in, I'm going to go across there and across there, and then probably remake effectively this panel here that comes up and joins into the upright and underside of here. So when this goes back in, it probably won't have that bit on it, but we need to make rebuild this basically, and then put it back in, and then we can roll forward. So watch out for hidden rust. The other side is fine, there's no rust in it at all. So it was just this side. I don't know how helpful that'll be, but so you could poke through that hole down there. And I've got to get that. I've got to effectively replace this piece as well. So it's an intricate little bugger, and obviously it's going to take more than one video. So probably at the end of this video I might have this done. This is going to take more than 5 minutes to build. I will keep you apprised as I think about things. Right chaps, there's been a bit going on in the background. I've been making this piece. I've chucked it through the sandblaster, so that isn't much left, but as we well know that the quarter panel's here, the parcel shelf speaker area is over here, and it continues forward, and that's the rear tray. So what we've been making, and it does take time to make these little bits, especially ones that are a bit awkward in shape. We're trying to make as much of this as possible in one go. It's probably easier to show you on the back side of this little guy. I mean, mine's not an exact copy, but it's going to be good enough to work from. So that's going to go right about there, and then when that's welded in, I'll have to do that tomorrow because it's just, we're running out of daylight. This is just taking ages and ages, and this is why when I have people ask to quote rust repairs, I say no, because it's impossible. You can sort of gauge it, but there's always more than you can see. So, and it takes time to make this stuff. This is horrendously time consuming. So that's going to go there. Tomorrow I'll put my little recess in it. Well, that one's got there. Got my fold, so that'll go there. Matches up fairly well, and I'll weld that in tomorrow, and then I'll trim that edge down a little bit, and then I'll do my next piece, which should be way simpler, which should be just up there and across, and I'll do that last, I reckon. But tomorrow we're going to attempt to get this all together and done in the next video, and have this welded back into the car, and potentially maybe by the end of the next video we have the first piece of the puzzle in. But we can't leave, you just can't leave it like that. So that'll go in like that. Sorry we didn't get more done in the video, it's just horrendously time consuming and stuff just refuses to come apart sometimes. Well, not willingly anyway. But I think that is good for part 1. Part 2 will be tomorrow. Oh, and a side note, I forgot to add in, the EJ stuff has been progressing quietly in the background. The old boy has been busy. I mean, I helped him a little bit to remove the steering column and the wiper linkages and the wiper motor and the dash and stuff like that, because it required some flamage to undo all these screws, because stupidly on a Holden they're all screws, they're not bolts. And of course you gotta remember it's been upside down for God knows how long, and nothing would come out without a bit of heat. But the oxy set solves all problems. Look at the wiper motor, even managed to save that too. Doesn't work, but I'm sure it's a rebuildable core. But that'll wrap up today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next.